This week we're flying Finnair from Singapore to London with a quick stop in Helsinki. We've got economy and premium economy seats, but we'll mostly be focusing on how Finnair has become the world's most beautiful budget airline. Except they're still charging premium prices, but everything is so budget. Yeah, we'll get into all of that, but also along the way we'll talk blueberries, Finlandization, and this guy. Welcome back to another video. This evening we're in Singapore. We're at the Jewel, the waterfall thing, just over there. Flying Finnair today to London. We've got about 13 hours to Helsinki and then another 3 to London. It definitely does extend the trip out a little bit, but never flown Finnair before, so wanted to give it a shot. Also, I think in terms of interesting things to see in Helsinki, I've got a couple hours. They do have a sauna in the lounge. Might have to give that a shot. And then on Helsinki to London, I've been able to get a premium economy seat, so you'll be able to check that out as well. I've just flown from Melbourne today. I didn't buy any food. It was a Jetstar flight. I'm hungry. I can't wait to get to a lounge and order way too much food. I've been watching the seat map, chop and change, and I think I should have at least a free seat next to me. I'm just going to double check one more time. We're still looking good, so I'm going to go check in. Thank you. Okay. From that, I'm going to guess that the flight's going to be very empty, but again, you never know. I was just checking right before I checked in. I used seats.aero, not paid, but maybe I'll put a referral link down below. But yeah, 2 people decided to sit next to me right before I checked in, so I was like, no. So luckily I was able to go into the Finnair website and swap into 37L, which is a window seat. There's currently nobody assigned next to me in the 2 seats. Again, you never know. You always get sold here. You're always like, it's so easy and quick in Singapore. But they have security at the gate. So you don't do security now, you do it later. At the gate by 9? Okay, yeah, no worries. I'm just hungry, I'm starving. I am starving, I need food, I'm not picky, I'm just screwed. A single crumb would change my mood. I am starving, I need food. So I need to do this again.
No water bottle.
Empty. Yeah, drink it. Yeah, thank you.
All other customers, please wait until your group is called.
Hello, 7 Lima across to your right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm in my seat. Every airline on Earth has boarding music, and there's just nothing here. It's very strange. Strange. Okay, so we're moving now, so I definitely do have 3 seats. Awesome. Incredible. Otherwise, a couple of things. This is really nice. We've got the takeoff time, when the meal service is going to be in 3 hours. We'll dim the lights in the cabin. You can sleep and watch movies. And then 2 hours before arrival, we'll give you breakfast. I really like this timeline thing going on. Alright, so we're like half an hour into it. I think the meal service has just started, or at least they're bringing around the drinks. All is well, got my 3 seats, but I'm starting to realise that Finnair might be a little bit cheap. So we got blankets, right? I've got 3 because there's 3 seats here, but there's no pillow. No pillow, so I'm kind of having to make do. Oh yeah, also, when they talk about the meals, there's only 2 meal choices. It's like a fried rice or a chicken and rice or beef and rice thing. But you get a complimentary soft drink or a mild alcoholic drink, like a beer or a wine, I believe. But if you want a more serious drink, or sorry, even just a beer, it's not cheap. 7 or 8 euro. Yeah. They also, for some reason, some airlines have a snack bar. I think Air New Zealand had a snack bar. Emirates just has snacks around. Qantas has a snack bar. No, on Finnair, you can buy a candy bag for $3.50, €4 muffin, €3 for some milk chocolate. Yeah, feeling a little bit, shortchanged here. It's not exactly priced like a budget airline, so weird. Not a fan of that one.
The chicken?
Yeah, I'll take chicken. Thank you. They're running out of beef. Anyway, how does this food look? Again, it's all in cardboard boxes. Sustainable, right? looks alright. It's quite small. There's an iPhone 13 Pro, not even the Max iPhone for scale comparison there, but
I'm not going to bore you with this meal. Let's just say it was a very average and small economy meal. But I want to talk more about this aggressive cost cutting that's going on at Finnair. It does very much feel like you're flying a budget airline on board. A very beautiful budget airline. The plane is spotless and the overall minimalistic Nordic design is quite nice. But yeah, €8 beers, €4 for a muffin. Huh? I thought this was a full service premium airline. At least that's what they're priced like. So what's going on here? Finnair's whole business model has been torn to shreds over the past 5 years, and these are just some of the cost-cutting measures that have been put in place to stop them from hemorrhaging money. But what's the root cause? Well, it's all got to do with Finland's geographical location and their complicated relationship with Russia. Finnair has, over the last few decades, turned Helsinki into a hub that connects Europe and Asia. The important factor in all of this was geography. Helsinki sits in the northeast of Europe, so this allowed them to funnel European traffic onto long-haul flights to Asia without any backtracking. This meant, for travelers, that the overall trips were relatively quick when compared to, say, connecting in Western European cities or the Middle East. This business model goes all the way back to 1983, when they launched the world's first non-stop flights between Europe and Japan. The combination of special extended range DC-10s and Helsinki's northerly position allowed them to make the 13-hour trips over the North Pole, all while other Western airlines had to refuel in Alaska. This was of course during the Cold War, and getting rights to fly over Siberia was an expensive and damn near impossible endeavor. Speaking of the Soviet Union, it's worth mentioning Finlandization here. This is a term that is now generally used to refer to the process by which one powerful country makes a smaller neighboring country refrain from opposing the former's foreign policy rules in order to keep its nominal independence and its own political system. This term stems from Finland's stance of neutrality towards the Soviet Union and goes back to the signing of the 1948 Finno-Soviet Treaty. This was a deal that came about after a couple of wars fought between Finland and the Soviet Union. There is a long history here. Finland was an autonomous region under the Russian Empire in the 1800s, but in the early 1940s, they were solidly an independent nation. The Soviets were trying to take over once again, but despite their superior military strength, they suffered major casualties. Under this 1948 treaty, Finland was obliged to resist any attacks from Western or Allied powers and to ask for Soviet military aid if necessary. The goal here was to stop Western forces from invading the Soviet Union through Finland, but it also ensured Finland's survival as a liberal democracy and it allowed them to remain outside of the great power conflicts. This term is now often considered somewhat derogatory, and I'd have to agree. Finland was just being pragmatic and a reasonable neighbor. But either way, by staying on good terms with the Soviets, Finnair became the first Western airline to run scheduled flights to Moscow in 1956, and when Russia did start granting rights to fly over Siberia, Finland was able to negotiate generous rights, more generous than many other European nations. In 1995, Finland joined the EU, but they specifically stayed out of NATO, continuing their neutral stance towards Russia. But this all started to change after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Support for joining NATO by the Finnish populace jumped from 24% to 85%, and Finland, as an EU nation, started to impose sanctions on Russia. In response to this, Russia then added them to the unfriendly nations list. The official end of the neutral relationship came in April of 2023, when they officially joined NATO. Today, rather interestingly, Finland, or more specifically their president, Alexander Stubb, appears to be one of Donald Trump's strongest European allies, and he has become a big player in the Ukraine-Russia negotiations. How did this relationship come to be?
You're a young, powerful man.
Was it Finland's direct experience dealing with Russia and their massive shared border? No, of course not. It was golf. Stubb is generally a rather incredible athlete. He competes in Ironmans, but he's also incredibly good at golf. He attended Furman University in South Carolina on a golf scholarship. He was a member of the Finnish national golf team and did intend to become a professional golfer after graduation. But after a year of studying political science, he abandoned the golf dreams and instead went the political route. He's seemingly one of these people, though, that probably would have succeeded at either, and well, the golf has come in handy more recently. I should probably dust off my golf clubs and get out there, right? Anyway, let's get back to Finnair. This strategy of connecting Europe and Asia worked incredibly well. By the 2010s, they held a dominant market position, operating more routes between Asia and Europe than BA or Air France. The airline had captured 10% of the Japan-Western Europe market and 6% of the China-Western Europe market. Whilst these figures don't exactly sound huge, it was the majority of their business, with 50% of total revenue coming from these Asian routes. Now, obviously, COVID devastated the aviation world. Finnair was grounded like nearly all other airlines. But the real blow for their business came with the Russia-Ukraine war and subsequent Russian airspace closure for EU airlines in February of 2022. This all devastated their network. By not being able to fly through Russian airspace, most of their Asian routes were rendered economically and, well, in some cases, physically unflyable. They've had to cut service to 44 airports, Asian capacity has declined by 58%, and on the few remaining Asian services, flight times have increased by 40% in some cases. So they've had to rethink their whole strategy. And what's their solution? Well, I'm still not sure if it's clear today, but they've rebalanced their network to instead focus on connecting Europe with the Middle East, India, and the US. The issue with the majority of these routes is that passengers are having to now backtrack and take non-optimal routes in almost all cases. They don't have the geographical advantage here. If anything, Helsinki is so out of the way, it's so north, that people will now avoid Finnair as it'll be a significantly longer option. And so in order to not go about hemorrhaging money, they've had to fundamentally shift from being a premium service airline to a more budget style operator in order to compete. That's why we've got no pillows here. And if I wanted to get drunk, I'd have to start making it rain. This has all turned the finances around. Revenue is approaching pre-COVID levels, and while their profit margin is nowhere near where it was back in the good old days, they've at least plugged the losses. But I do think this fundamental change in their service, especially on long-haul flights, being more like a budget airline, is a risky brand move in the long term. Gordon Bethune, the former CEO of Continental Airlines, once said that you can make a pizza so cheap, nobody will eat it. You can make an airline so cheap, nobody will fly it. Personally, I don't think I'd pick them again for a long-haul flight after this experience. Unless, of course, I could guarantee the 2 seats being free next to me.
Right, so are the people from Scandinavia crazy, or am I weird? Because when I was waiting to use this toilet, I had to wait for a couple of minutes, I saw 2 people walk out with their socks on. I mean, to be fair, it's a very clean toilet so far, so, I mean, you could almost use this toilet without getting wet socks, but... Oh, brother, what's that? Oh. Otherwise, yeah, gonna brush my teeth. I was looking at the sink and it reminded me of that guy. Has anyone seen that guy on TikTok that cooks things in airplane bathrooms? Yeah. Disgusting. Alright, bedtime. It's breakfast time. I just woke up. We've got 1 hour and 51 minutes remaining. Did I just sleep for 9 hours on a plane? I don't know, I feel good. Having these 3 seats is magical. I was kind of crumpled up, but I guess I was so tired that it still worked.
Thank you.
The crew are good. I'll give them that. I think they're Singaporean and they're friendly. Singaporean or Thai. Finnair has a crew base in Singapore. Or it was definitely Bangkok. Wherever. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm absolutely mumbling my words. I need the black coffee. That's what I need. Could have used more salt, but it was, yeah, it was alright.
I think it would be remiss of me to not quickly mention the strikes here. I won't go into tons of detail, but essentially there were years of accumulated frustrations stemming from the pandemic. Finnair employees made concessions to keep the airline afloat, but expected compensation once things normalized. Obviously, that didn't happen, and unions weren't exactly happy. Overall, these strikes impacted tens of thousands of people and were a massive reputational hit. But the airline is majority owned by the Finnish government, so Finnair isn't disappearing anytime soon. But what's particularly interesting, for me at least, is how the Qantas wet lease deals got tangled up in this. I made a video on board one of the first Finnair operated Qantas flights about 1.5 years ago now. Here's how that deal works. The planes are wet leased for the first 2 years, meaning Finnair pilots and crew operate them, and then they'll switch to a dry lease deal with all Qantas crew for up to another 3 years. For cabin crew, this was simple. As I was just mumbling there, Finnair already has bases in Bangkok and Singapore. So for them, they're just going to be flying to Sydney instead of Helsinki. It's probably a nice change, really. But for pilots, it's a bit more complicated. 90 Finnish pilots fly A350s from Helsinki to Bangkok or Singapore, they rest up, and then they fly A330s down to Sydney. This created highly extended and demanding trips for Finnish pilots, especially compared to pre-COVID times. Now, this wet lease deal wasn't the main focus of these labour disputes, but it did lead to two particular issues. Finnair sought to enforce mandatory standby duties and warned of furloughing up to 90 pilots. Coincidentally, the exact number needed for the Qantas routes. The pilots' union saw this as management using the Sydney flights as leverage, essentially an ultimatum. Accept tougher conditions or we'll cut the routes and your jobs. Finnair, in turn, argued it needed the flexibility to ensure reliable service for its partner airlines. They needed mandatory standby duties in order to ensure no disruptions. After months of negotiation and disruptions, the industrial actions had become so pronounced that for a time, Finnair could only operate one of its two leased jets, forcing Qantas to cover the affected Sydney to Singapore route with its own aircraft. But ultimately, pilots and ground staff secured pay increases and improved working conditions in July of 2025. With these disputes settled, the Qantas partnership has not only been fully restored, but it's set to expand, with a third Finnair A330 set to start operating for Qantas on October 26, 2025, on their Sydney to Honolulu route. Though this one will be fully staffed by Qantas from the outset.
They have Wi-Fi on these planes. Okay, for the full flight, it is, if you're not a Finnair member, it's €25. If you are a Finnair member, it's €20. That is not cheap. Not very cheap at all. I think like 10 USD, so like 10 to 15 Australian dollars. You might have me paying for it at that point. Otherwise, get out of here. That's the Wi-Fi. What about the big screen here? As I sort of alluded to before, I do quite like the UI. I do think the design is quite nice. We do, of course, have the cameras, and this is the same UI as we had on the Qantas Finnair flight. They've got like a decent number of movies. It's not crazy. TV shows are where they're a bit weak. They're lacking on the box sets. So yeah, all round, there's definitely an air of cost cutting. Might be the way to describe it. They're definitely making money on the Wi-Fi. Oh yeah, and also this one actually kind of annoyed me. The USB ports. Why are you not testing them, Simon? What's going on here? Well, they haven't worked. And this is the thing, I've got 3 seats. None of the USB ports have worked at all. I've tried to charge cameras, I've tried to charge my phone, I've tried to charge... That's it actually, just cameras and phones, nothing. I'm like 90% sure there's no power outlet too. I'll have one more look. So yeah, I have 0 power on this flight. And also on every trip that I've come on in the last 2 years, I've brought a power bank, which to be fair, I don't really find myself using that much. And on this trip, my housemate Spencer said, oh no, don't worry, you don't need to bring your power bank, it just weighs too much. You can always charge, on the plane, there's always a power outlet or a USB or something. Alright, so we're in hell. That is the classiest smoking areas I've ever seen. This is ridiculous. Currently experiencing Coley. We're very north here, and I thought I'd pull up some stats. It's only end of May right now, so not peak summer here yet. Sunset is currently 10 p.m. Sunrise is 4:30 a.m. Welcome. Thank you. Well, this is lovely, but I kind of wanted to do a sauna in a lounge. It doesn't open till 10:30. My flight's at 8 a.m. This is one of those things that I probably should have researched, but it's not like I had any other options for my flight anyway, so... Damn, no sauna. So I got some coffee and some blueberry juice. What is it with this place and blueberries?
Of course, I had to do some Googling here. In 2014, Finnair introduced blueberry juice as their signature drink, and it's quickly become a hit, with them serving nearly 1 million litres of the stuff every year. It's one of the few things on the plane that is complimentary and unlimited in all classes. But why blueberry juice? Well, for Finns, blueberries run in their blood. Every summer, the Finnish forests are bursting with wild blueberries, with an estimated 150 to 200 million kilograms growing every year. And berry picking is a national pastime. So much so that it's somewhat codified in their legal system. Finland has the principle of, and I'm going to completely butcher this, jokamehainoikeus, or every man's right. This legal concept grants everyone, including non-citizens, the right to freely roam the countryside and forests, even on privately owned land, to pick wild berries and mushrooms, provided no damage is caused. One study from 2011 indicates that 56% of Finns, regardless of socioeconomic status, pick wild berries throughout the summer. Finland goes even further here too. The sale of unprocessed natural products, such as blueberries or mushrooms, are not subject to any tax.
Tax-free!
So for many households in the rural regions, wild berry picking provides a substantial tax-free side income during the summer months. All of this reading on blueberries also led me to discover that Finnish blueberries aren't the same berry that we get at the shops here in Australia, or pretty much the rest of the world. The globally dominant commercial variety are known as the high bush blueberry, and they're native to North America, whilst the Finnish and generally Nordic variety are known as the bilberry, and they're quite different. Bilberries are grown on low-lying shrubs throughout forests, and their main defining characteristics are that they're small and that their flesh has a deep purpley blue color. Whereas the blueberries we all know more globally are larger in size and their flesh is pale and translucent, and they're also readily farmed. Because here's the thing with blueberries. They've been picked and eaten for thousands of years, but weren't able to be farmed until 1916. Farmers tried, but whenever a blueberry bush was transplanted from the wild onto a farm, they would die off. It wasn't until 1910 when USDA botanist Frederick Coville discovered that blueberries require highly acidic, moist soil in order to be grown successfully. He then teamed up with New Jersey farmer Elizabeth Coleman White in 1911 to breed larger, high-yielding varieties that could be reliably farmed. By 1916, they harvested and sold the first commercial crop of cultivated high bush blueberries, starting the modern-day history of the blueberry we all know and love today. They were initially a modest success, generally enjoyed in muffins, pies, and eaten fresh in the summer. But it wasn't until 1998, when lab tests ranked them as the top fruit for antioxidant activity, that they really took off. They were declared to be the miracle berry, and consumption skyrocketed.
Blueberries may not only be tasty, but can get rid of the fat around your middle.
In the US, per capita consumption has increased roughly 5-fold since the early 2000s. Today, blueberries are grown on every continent except Antarctica, and over 1 million tons are consumed annually. I guess it's pretty remarkable what a bit of fruit marketing can do.
What a lovely lounge. This airport, this place is too quiet. It's kind of eerie. Just silence. So quiet. Except for this bit. We're currently experiencing Mikkeli. Actually getting sleep last night meant that I feel pretty good right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice flight.
Thanks.
On this relatively short flight to London, I was able to select a premium economy seat. Finnair doesn't sell premium economy on their short-haul flights, but do have them on some routes, so you can snag one of these with an economy ticket. The service was pretty bare bones, just a drink service with the only options being water or blueberry juice. The juice is a nice touch, but this is very budget. I don't really have a problem with this though. This is a general worldwide trend, and well, it is only a 3-hour flight, so you don't really need a full meal. I do have more general thoughts on premium economy, but we'll save that for another video. A big gripe I had with this particular seat was the legroom, or lack thereof. Obviously, you do have more than economy, but there was so much stuff going on under the seat in front of me that I didn't actually have that much space to stick my feet. Small things, but otherwise, we did have chargers that worked here, so that was nice.
Alright, in the middle toilet now. This is of course another A350, just like the one that we came over from Singapore on. Yeah, that premium economy seat, pretty comfy, though I think the 3 seats last night was marginally better. I'm just reading a book, not reading a book for fun, reading a book for research. Virgin Atlantic, lots of blueberry juice. They just brought around another one, so I've just been drinking up the blueberries today. That stuff's really good. That's got to be the highlight of Finnair probably. Very clean, modern design and lots of blueberry juice.
I hope you all enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something. Now, I don't want to sound like a complete sellout here, but I have just launched channel memberships on YouTube. YouTube's incentivizing this whole program quite a lot, so I thought I might as well give it a shot. I'm not doing any paywalling or early access to videos yet. Who knows what the future holds? But basically, if you want to buy me a coffee every month, then please feel free. I would appreciate it. You'll get a few small perks and a random Discord channel we can chat in, but it's basically just an option for you to help me fund all of this if that's something you'd like. No pressure here at all. Just watching till the end is more than enough. Otherwise, go follow me on Instagram here and LinkedIn here. I promise my ironic LinkedIn posting will start soon. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Simon? Is that Simon?
What's Simon?
I call upon all nations to stop these terrorist killers. Now watch this drive.